I don't know whether you thought that Albo should have gone to Kyle Sandilands' wedding or not, and I don't even know whether it's that important, but it is clearly important to Andrew Bolt. Now, I find that this bit I'm about to play for you from my friend A. Bolt is somewhat disingenuous, given that he's probably feeling a wee bit disappointed that he himself wasn't invited to this incredible occasion, and that perhaps he's feeling a wee bit offended and needs to take this out on Albo because he was invited. And they make a big deal of the fact that his best man has a criminal record, the other one's a drug dealer or whatever, and I'm not going to place any aspersions upon these people, given that I don't know them, don't necessarily know their history, and don't necessarily believe everything that Andrew Bolt tells me either. But, maybe Albo shouldn't have gone. Maybe it would have been better optics if he chose not to. And we don't know the real reason why he did. Perhaps it was about influencing Kyle in terms of what he might say to him at interviews on his radio show. Who knows what it is? I don't know. Bolt doesn't know, but Bolt is critical of him nevertheless. And because, as I've said in just recent videos, there is an effort in order to find any small little nugget that they can elaborate on that indicates that what is happening to Albo is unhelpful. It's going to damage him in some particular way, because they're all sitting back waiting for the demise of a very, very popular Prime Minister. Now, I haven't seen all that much recently on The Voice on Sky because they're so busy focusing on these minutiae details in relation to Albo. Not much on the government itself, not much on tax reform, strange and bewildering interviews with Pauline Hanson that I have no idea why they'd have such an unintelligent individual on their network. But I guess they do because it leans towards the right. So here's a little bit of a take on what Andrew Bolt has to say about Albo attending this wedding.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is still flying high in the polls, but if you look closer, he is now struggling. Now, on Saturday, he demeaned the office of Prime Minister by going to the wedding of crass Sydney's shock.
Now, it's interesting that they didn't bring up any statistics that demonstrate that Albo's losing his touch. As far as I'm aware, there are none. He's still extremely popular, and maybe amongst the 45 or younger, he might be more popular for attending the wedding. Who knows? Maybe it was a political ploy in order to attract that sort of people or that age group, that demographic. But Andrew Bolt clearly is disgusted that someone would appear at Sandilands' wedding, when in actual fact he probably won't appear on Andrew Bolt's show because Andrew Bolt is just who he is, and that he would just do the attacking shit. So let's hear what else he has to say.
Jock Kyle Sandilands, whose other guests of honour were prominent underworld figure John Abraham and jailed drug smuggler Simon Mayne. Yes, Albanese may have hidden behind Sandilands' son to make it all seem very innocent, but why on earth was he there? Now, it's not as if he's friends with Sandilands, a gross loudmouth, famous for having a 14-year-old listener sit a lie detector test on air. And
I think that is an important statement in itself, in that he's saying that talk about projection. He's talking about Sandilands as being this loudmouth individual, and here's Bolt, who spent his whole career being the very thing that Sandilands is, but doing it on a completely different network.
Tell us about her rape. He's the kind of guy who today announced he'd had sex with his new wife on his wedding day.
We've got your beautiful wedding speech to Tegan.
Oh, and a lot of people asking, did you
This is
consummate
crap, I
the
must
marriage?
confess.
You bet your
But
ass.
this is who he is.
Now, Albanese going to the wedding was not about friendship, it was about power. Sandilands is the top-rating radio station star in Sydney, and Albanese needs to reach his audience of amoral young Australians who are up for that kind of rubbish. And Sandilands,
Again, I can't help but think this is some form of projection because his show, Bolt Show, is so poorly rated itself.
in turn, wants Albanese there to project himself as a man of influence. But our Prime Minister hobnobbing with that lot. And swanking around a rich social climber's wedding costing $1 million when working class Australians are right now doing it so tough. And spending 7 hours at this
And
wedding when he's...
I don't know, I can't understand what that argument's got to do with it. Like, would it have been better if he attended a poor person's wedding? I don't know. And so at every opportunity, they have to make it appear that whatever Albo's doing is not taking care of the people that Albo says that he's supposed to be supporting. Now, to a degree, I agree with that. I think that there needs to be a greater effort by the Labor government to connect with those people whom they do want to abdicate, or sorry, not abdicate, that they do suggest that they wish to support. So there needs to be a greater effort by the government to connect with those people that are homeless, that have got mental wellbeing issues, where there's domestic violence and where there's child abuse and other issues. So they need to find ways to connect more at that level, I agree, but going to a wedding and then he gets criticised for being at that wedding for a certain period of time, and then they go back to the old trope, which is, you know, why didn't you spend the same amount of time in Alice Springs and so on. So they're trying to connect the amount of time that this man spends at certain places with some of the other issues, the more social issues that sit in our communities. So I understand where they're coming from to an extent, but as always the case with Sky News, they overstate their issue. They lack a sense of real understanding and reporting on some of these issues, whereas they just wish to be able to lampoon someone like Albo because of who he is. However, if it was Morrison or Abbott or somebody else, no one would care. They certainly wouldn't care, but they do care because it happens to be Albo who's left of their version of politics. So let me know what you think. Just send me an email at this particular email address if you wouldn't mind. If you've got any questions or if you'd like to have a discussion with me, make it in any of the comments below, and also subscribe to my channel. Great. Thanks for being with me. Take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.